are you this morning in survival mode in your life, in your family, in your job, just in your outlook? And you may say, what does that feel like? It feels like I'm just living day to day. It may feel like you're saying, I haven't got enough energy to think about next month. I'm thinking about next week and sometimes even the next hour. I don't want to plan anything because I don't know if it's going to happen. And I just have no vision for my life. I just feel that I'm stuck. Well, good morning. I trust that you are well this morning and that wherever you are taking a bit of time out to listen and discuss with me, that you have your favorite beverage with you and that you are just ready this morning on this Saturday morning. And if you are watching from a YouTube platform, please push that subscribe button. We need your support. And please comment at least once. As a matter of fact, comment as many times as you want to from whatever platform you're watching, because your opinion is important and I'd love to hear it. Now, Timeout and Timeouters is all about being positive. We want to share and spread the positivity, as opposed to all the negativity out there. So thank you again this morning. Now, survival mode. What is that? And how do I move and how do you move from survival mode to what I call revival mode? Don't go away. I'm going to share that. Welcome again to Timeout. My name is Jack Vint. It seems that, from a South African point of view, but even when I listen to other people, many people feel that they are stuck in survival mode. And you may say, well, what is survival mode? Survival mode is, if I can use an analogy of a car, is when I've parked the car and I've switched off the motor and I put it into neutral and it's not really going forward or backward. It's just there and it's going nowhere. And you may ask, well, how do we get into survival mode? How did it happen that you became stuck in survival mode in your life? And that's a very good question. But more so, how do you get out of survival mode and into what I call revival mode? And I'm going to share that too, so don't go away. Now, it may be that we're in survival mode because of problems. We're facing challenges in South Africa, political challenges, economic challenges, water challenges, electricity challenges, politician challenges, and even that we've got financial challenges, and maybe even you've got challenges with your children, your family, your job, and even personal challenges. And it causes you to go into survival mode, which simply means you don't go anywhere, you're not moving. And that's what makes survival mode so frustrating and challenging, because you're not going anywhere. And you're saying, I want to go somewhere, but I seem to be stuck here. It's like a bad traffic jam. If you've ever been in the Galuli's intersection in Johannesburg, it's notorious. There's always traffic jams. Whatever car you're in, it doesn't matter how expensive or fast. If you're in that traffic jam, you're going nowhere slowly. Now that would be a description about survival mode, when you're in survival mode. And I want to ask, are you this morning in survival mode in your life, in your family, in your job, just in your outlook? And you may say, what does that feel like? It feels like I'm just living day to day. It may feel like you're saying, I haven't got enough energy to think about next month. I'm thinking about next week and sometimes even the next hour. I don't want to plan anything because I don't know if it's going to happen. And I just have no vision for my life. I just feel that I'm stuck. And so survival mode is not a nice place to be. But before I go there, I want to say revival mode, and you may ask what's that, is the total opposite. That's when you switch on the engine and you get into gear and the juices start to flow and you feel like something is happening in your life. And that's what all of us want. We want to become in revival mode in wherever we live and whatever our situation may be. But before I discuss how to get from survival mode into revival mode, I just want to share with you, why is it, you may ask, Jack, that people get stuck, and especially me? Why do I get stuck in survival mode, and what causes that? And so let me just quickly address that, if you don't mind. And in addressing it, I want to speak about the two options we have, just two, about two wells in your life And it reminds me of a scripture that warns us in Proverbs 4 verse 23. It is a warning. It says, keep your heart, or guard your heart, another translation says, with all diligence, for out of it springs the issues of life. Your issues of life are in your heart and mind. Another translation says, watch your heart, for from it flows the spring of life. So I like to think there are two springs that flow out from our heart. And that's the nucleus is what's in your heart. If you become this is stuck in survival mode, it's probably because something's happened in your heart. And so I think I would like to just speak about these two fountains, or these two wells that are in our heart that we drink from. The one is a well of bitterness, a bitter well, water that is bitter. And then the second one is obviously what we all want to drink from, the sweet well, the water that is sweet. And let me start with the bitter well. Why is it that our wells get contaminated in our lives? And, even in Israel's time in the Bible, they dug these wells just to find that the water was bitter. It was bad for them, their health. It contaminated them. And so instead of the water replenishing them and refreshing them, this water was yucky. And so when people drink of bitter water, it's yucky. It's just not nice. And the Hebrews goes on to also warn us. And Hebrews 12 verse 15 says, see to it that no one falls short of the grace of God. So in other words, if you do this, you're falling short of God's grace. And I don't know about you, but I can't afford to fall short of God's grace. I need God's grace. I can't fall short of it. It says that no root of bitterness, when you fall short of God's grace, it's like a root of bitterness springs up to cause trouble and defile many. So it gives us a clue that when that root of bitterness comes into your water system or well that you drink from, that you need to guard, you start to contaminate your system with pollution. And not only you contaminate other people, because as much as we may not realize that many people come to us to drink of our water. And so I want to ask, is your water that people are drinking from today sweet water, or is it bitter water? And you may ask, Jack, why is it that, what are the reasons for my water becoming bitter? Because it never started there. It's always an end result of something. And so let me just say one thing about the thing that I find there are many, but one of them is discouragement or disappointment. Now, sometimes disappointment is what I feel, discouragement or what I feel, and disappointment is what other people may do to me because of their actions. But whatever, whether it's disappointment or discouragement, when it comes into your water system, and it contaminates it, because I get disappointed. Maybe you're disappointed because of somebody in your life, your husband, your wife, your boss, the government, your financial situation. Maybe you're discouraged because your prayers aren't answered, and maybe you didn't get that promotion. And so instead of, I'm not saying that we should never be disappointed or discouraged, just don't major on it. Don't let it be a major subject in your life. You need to let discouragement and disappointment go. It needs to flow through your system and not remain in your system, because it creates bitterness. And one of the things about bitterness I found in my experience, even when I've experienced it, is when you are bitter in that well in your life, you struggle with forgiveness. To forgive yourself, number one, to forgive other people. Sometimes you struggle to forgive your peers. Sometimes you struggle to even forgive God. And bitterness creates an environment that it causes toxins to stay in. Instead of the water flushing out our system, it now pollutes our system. So I want to encourage you, practice forgiveness as a remedy for bitterness. And when you look at discouragement and disappointment, let it flow through you. Don't allow yourself to hang on to those things. Now, let me say something about the sweet water, because we all want to drink from that fountain. It's like clear spring water. I don't know if you bought bottled water. All of it is from perfect spring water. I don't know if it's always true, but we always like to think we're drinking clear, beautiful water, because, we can go without food, they say, for many days, but only hours after we stop drinking water, we become dehydrated, because we're primarily made up of water. And so we need to drink from this spring more than once, every day. That's why it's important to guard your heart, because you're drawing from these fountains every day. And because out of them come the issues of life. Your issues are found in your heart. And so the sweet water, what is the sweet water? The sweet water is what turns not just the taps on, but turns the motor on in my car. As I use that, it's what causes me to come alive, and you alive. And you say, I want to go forward. I want to plan ahead. I want to think about that holiday. I want to do something about that problem. So the sweet water is what makes you feel alive. It gets you into what I call revival mode, where you feel revived. You feel good. You were dehydrated, but now you are revived. And even spiritually, when you drink of that as a Christian, you become alive and you start to understand who God is. Now, let me share with you just two things that can help your water remain sweet in your life. And there are many, but let me just mention two. The first one I would like to mention is appreciation. When you start appreciating life, you start to value that sweet water. The fact that you're alive, and the fact that you may have a family, somebody that loves you, perhaps that you've got some food on your table. Just find something to appreciate. And what it does, it takes your focus off disappointment and discouragement, and it puts it on being thankful, because God has done so many things for us that we can appreciate. So appreciation brings out that sweet water in my life. And then the second thing is faith. You may take it for granted and say, yeah, but everybody's got faith. Well, the agnostic may have faith, but he's not practicing it. The unbeliever is not practicing it. The atheist is not practicing it. There are many people that just don't have the value of faith. So when you say, I've got faith and I can practice it, it's a privilege. You may not understand it. You are not disabled. You are not the one that is impaired. The people that aren't practicing faith are the ones that are impaired and disabled. You are blessed because you have the ability to believe in God. What an awesome thing. And when you put that into your heart, out of that comes sweet water. Now I want to remind you, next time, when you want to think about guarding your heart, remember it says, out of your heart will spring the issues of life. The life that it's speaking about is your life. Don't forget that. Choose to drink from that sweet water. My name is Jack Vint. You've been watching Timeout, and I hope you were encouraged and that you will share this with somebody. God bless you, and I'll catch you next week.